All right. Welcome, everybody. Today is Thursday, July 11th, 2024, and this is the Backdrop CMS fortnightly design meeting. We'll start off with a quick round of introductions, and then I'll throw it over to Tim to lead the actual meeting. My name is Luke McCormick. I'm a web project manager and various other kinds of management things, and occasional programmer. I live in San Ramon, California, which is where I am now. Uh, and I am generally found on internet things as Cellear, Cellear. Sebastian?
Okay, my name is Sarvashri, and I'm part-time programmer for myself, my business, for website development, and just getting my chops ready for the year, I guess you could say. Let's see, Joseph, go ahead.
Oh, hi, are you waiting for me to say something?
Okay, yeah, you can go. Joseph,
Yeah.
he's out.
Ismies, go ahead, introduce yourself.
Okay, yeah, I'm Izzy, and I like Drupal, but I like Backdrop better, and that's why I'm here.
Joseph.
Okay, I'm here now. Sorry, I was in the other room making food. I'm Joseph. I'm a developer from Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'm a core committer for Backdrop, and I maintain a bunch of modules, although I'm not super active at any of those things. Yeah.
Hey, I think I'm last, right? Yeah. My name's Tim Erickson. I'm St. Paul Tim on the internet. I'm in Deerwood, Minnesota. And excited about the next release coming out. Since we're all introduced, let's quickly remind people this is as Luke said, the fortnightly design UX meeting. This is where we just talk about any design issues, or more commonly, we spend more time on UX issues because we don't usually have designers here to help us. So if any designers want to join us for this meeting, that would be great. We do have a release coming up the 15th. And the way the release cycle works is we're already in feature freeze, which means new features cannot be added into the next release yet. But bug releases, UX issues or tasks, sort of small things that are just sort of like adding help text, changing the order of menu items, anything like this that doesn't require a lot of testing or isn't completely new can still get in. So we do still have a chance to make a mark on this next upcoming release in a few days. Again, the 15th, 4 days. And so I think for the meeting today, I mean, if anybody has any questions, we can talk about those. If anybody has anything else, we can talk about it. Otherwise, I think we can just kind of brainstorm, look in the issue queue, and see if there are some issues we can unstick. Sometimes issues get hung up based on a lack of consensus, and having a discussion in this meeting can help move them forward. So we can start out with Ismy's brought us an issue, I think, the admin bar, right? Issue, and I have that up. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Yeah, okay. I put the link in the
Yep,
link.
I think I have it right here. Is that right?
Yes, you do.
Okay. So the link is in the comments. Here's the issue. And so the first thing that I see is, I think you were trying to clarify the status of this issue. And we can see if this were merged already, it would say fixed. Because It says PR ready to be committed, this means it has not been merged yet. You can test this if you when there's an issue like this that's well, it doesn't have to be ready to be committed. A lot of issues have PRs, and if you go to the PR, you can click on this. That'll take you here, and you can scroll down and find there should be a sandbox. And here it is, the last sandbox. Although this is a little bit old, so this may or may not work. I'm going to try opening it. No, it did not work. Okay.
Yeah, I guess my question really is that I have opened up the 127.0 preview. and I have a fresh site. So you
Yeah.
could do that with Tugboat too, right? You could just go to Tugboat and
Well, okay.
a 127.0 preview site. If you do that and go and look at the admin menu, it
Yeah.
seems to work nested down. How do you know if it's not getting there to
Well,
the full depth?
okay. So how do you test this issue?
Yes.
I'm not sure without looking closer. Is anybody else familiar with this issue?
Well, all I would do right now is go to Tugboat and spin up a new 127.0 preview.
I understand that. Okay.
And
But
when
what
you-
I'm saying is you're asking how to test this specific issue. First of all, no preview is going to have this PR in it, right? So if you're testing with Tugboat, you're just testing what's already been committed, and this hasn't been committed.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay. So the question was, is there a regression that crept in that this PR fixes? And I clearly saw it work on the 126 stuff.
Mhm.
There's a difference there. But when I look at 127 preview, I guess I could just apply the patch and see what it does. I mean, that's easy enough for me to do.
Sure. Okay. I mean,
Okay, so you've answered my question. It hasn't
Okay.
been merged.
right. It absolutely hasn't been merged.
Okay.
This issue is very old and hasn't been committed yet. So unless there were duplicate issues,
It's just so close to being finished. It would be nice to have it in there and working, because when you are actually dealing with a deep admin menu, you
right?
don't necessarily know you're getting to the end of it. Whereas when that fix is in there, it's back to how it used to be before the regression. So it's a very important, nice to have.
Okay. I think we might be talking about different issues because this has nothing to do with a regression. This is an old issue that's been around for a long time, and I think it doesn't sound like the issue you're talking about. Do we have a screenshot of this issue? This issue is about. I wish I had a dev site
I
quick
that-
ready.
I think that issue actually is a regression.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
I mean,
did they reopen this? Well, did they reopen this issue then? I mean, how can it be a regression if it's been open since 2016
No,
and
the
hasn't been merged yet?
the original issue that caused the regression was issue 315.
Okay, I see
Yeah.
what you're saying. Not a recent regression. It's an old
Yes,
regression.
it's quite old.
Okay, I was confused because I thought Ismay was talking about a regression from recent.
No, this is
Okay.
this is old.
Yes. Yes.
I know it's been sitting around for a long time, and believe me,
Yes.
this issue is so close to being finished. It really
Right.
deserves to be over the line.
Yes, and there's the only thing and all this takes is a core committer to commit it. There's nothing else that needs to be done. It doesn't need testing. It doesn't need anything else, unless it's gotten old enough that it needs a rebase now.
I don't
That's what.
think so. But I could test it, with I could test a patch off it. It's not that
Yeah,
difficult.
but none of that's necessary, Ismay.
Okay.
All we need to do.
All right. So maybe
Um,
what's happening here is that I don't know if the PR includes a test that can test the depth of the admin menu and make sure that we're getting to the end, or if it's just something you have to look at.
Again,
Okay.
without understanding exactly what this issue is, I don't understand exactly what the issue is. So I'm not sure if you need that. If the issue needs tests, okay, then a core committer will say that, and tests
Okay.
will be written, and then they will be added, okay, and
Okay.
we leave it. The core committers usually decide whether like PHP tests need to be administered.
Okay, I'll add a comment then to that issue, and that helps me
Sure.
see what we need to do next. I'd like to see this one in to the 127 if we can.
Well, right. normally what will happen, Ismies, for your information, is anything, whenever we do a release, anything that's gotten this far, PR ready to be committed, the core committer is going to look at this. Okay, this will not just get ignored. Okay. It will get looked at, and a core committer will either decide, yes, this is ready to go, and they will commit it, or they will remove this and say why they removed it.
Great,
There
thanks
are-
very much. Thanks
Yeah.
very much. We could move on.
Right. There are other issues that say need testing, and those are ones we can really push forward because they won't get looked at until they get PR ready to be committed. But once you've got this tag, you really just have to wait. And usually before every release, the core committers, and Joseph, you can correct me if I'm wrong, core committers go through and they look at everything that has PR ready to be committed. If we click on that, we can see there's only 7 issues that are this far along, or 8, right? So these will all get reviewed within the next few days.
Does it show when that was posted? That it's ready to be committed?
Yes, you
Greg,
can. Okay, you
No,
can always
all
go
right.
back through the issue queue and you can find the RTBC tag was added December 8th last year, so it's about a month ago.
Since the last update?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, RJ Piano's asked, it does seem weird that this didn't get, so I just said this get looked at before every release. For some reason, this didn't get looked at before the last release. I'm not sure why. What I would do is post a note maybe to Quick Sketch and say, Quick Sketch, is there something holding this issue up or something? Is there something I can do to help? But I'm pretty sure he's going to look at it with this release. The fact that he didn't for the last one is a little bit unusual. Okay. This is a good thing to be doing at this stage in the process, though, is looking for things that you think might be stuck. But I have pretty rarely seen anything get stuck once it reaches this, unless that gets removed, the PR. So does anybody else have a specific issue that they want to look at, or should we? So what we can do is just go into, and I'm sorry if I sound a little agitated. I'm just, I'm fine. If we just click on the issues and we sort by one way to sort of see things that have been getting activity that might need some attention is just to look by recently updated and see issues that people have been talking about and see if there's any of those that need some work. That's one way of doing it. The other thing we can, of course, always do is do what we talked about before. We can search by, if we're looking specifically for UX issues. Oops, no. Just hit return, I guess. So there we go. Anything with UX in the title is a possibility. And then, here's the issue we just talked about right at the top. That's ready to be committed. What we could do is scroll through these. And there's a few of these, like this one that I was working on. We could take a quick look. I have to remind myself what the status is.
Needs work?
Yeah, but I want to see why it needs work. Okay, it looks like I got basically so I'm gonna, for the sake of Ismies and anybody else who's fairly new, the way I contributed to this issue was I just came here, BW Panda had a PR. I clicked on the PR sandbox was dead and it was old. And so we couldn't use it. And I know that Peter's not around to really work on his PR anymore. So I basically just made a new PR based on Peter's PR and I opened it up. It's basically his work. And I acknowledge that, I think, usually when I do that, I make a note somewhere saying I did a PR. I didn't do it here. Maybe I did it in the other space. But anyways, it looks like Martin found some small changes. So I just need to go in and make these small changes and then mark that needs review again. If anybody, people still could test this to see if they like this idea, because until it's been committed, it's still possible to change it. Add a cancel link to the Views UI. Do we have a good picture of that, a screenshot? One of the things I often do when I'm testing issues like this is if there is no screenshot, I take one and put it in the issue queue. That's very helpful. Like right now, if we had one, but basically what happens is when you go to the views page, when you make once you make a change to a view, a cancel link appears. Otherwise, you can just well, actually, I don't think you can save or cancel it until you make a change. And Jen just pointed out that sometimes she goes to views and then wants to, even if she hasn't made a change, she wants to cancel it just to go back to where she was, rather than hit the revert button. And she said, why not make the cancel button visible all the time? Well, I think somebody down here determined that, in fact, that's a normal UI pattern in Backdrop, is that we just always show the cancel button. We don't only show it after a change has been made. So we basically just made the cancel button visible all the time. So when you come to the Views UI, you'll be able to cancel a view even before you've made any changes. Which seems a little weird, but it actually works well, and it's consistent. It's the same thing with nodes. If you open up a node, I think to edit it, you can cancel that even if you haven't made changes. So I think functionally it's not too late to comment on the merits of this change. But right now, the main thing that's holding this up is that I need to fix some changes. So we can go back and look and see if there's anything else. Here's one that's RTVC. I would just skip over that. A couple of them, 3 in a row that are RTVC. So they should all get some attention. We could look at this one, but this one doesn't even say it needs testing yet, which suggests to me that we don't have a PR and we're not close enough. So I would kind of skip over. I'm looking for something. Editors should have permission to manage files. Here's one that says needs testing, needs work. This is also one that I have been doing some work on. I think it's the same thing. No, maybe not. I might have did the original PR on this one. So we need to look. It wouldn't hurt if people looked at this one just to see if basically we're just the editor role didn't have permission to do things like create files or view own private files. And some people pointed out that they should have that. And basically I wrote a PR that just added those permissions. So now this won't affect existing sites, but on new sites, the editor role will have these permissions. It does look like this one needed work, but I made the changes. Oops. He, I don't know how to say this name. He marked it as works for me. So we just need a code review on this. Actually, we should remove the needs work label, and anybody I think can do that. Revised version, RTPC, anyone? Yep. Let's go ahead and remove the needs work label. Needs testing, well, really needs code review. And I guess this guy did not add the works for me label because he wanted to give other people a chance to comment on it. So anybody who thinks this is a good change should comment on this, because what we're really looking for is just 1 or 2 people to say, yeah, this is a good idea. And then we can, the code review on this is very simple. a core committer could do it sort of on the fly. All I'm doing is adding some permissions. So that's the entire code change. Code review won't be hard once we have consensus that we actually want to make this change. So anybody who feels like they want to help with this issue, just comment and say, good idea, I like it. Let's go back. Anybody have any other ideas? Has anybody found any issues you want to talk about, or should we just go back to the? Actually, I'm going to do the. I went and lost my search.
Yeah, I like your suggestion of going and just kind of finding the list of the PRs ready to be committed, and just at least look at it. It gives you a chance to see the process as these get entered in.
Sure.
And there's only a few days left. I mean, these I can't see focusing too much on the others, but I think it's great that you're bringing them to our attention.
Well,
Yeah.
Again, the ready to be committed ones don't need any attention. The other ones that are worth giving some attention are ones that are like the one I just showed you. That was not RTBC, right?
Yeah.
Where that one, but that one could easily get in. It's a super simple PR. All it needs is some people to say, yeah, this is a good idea, and it will get into the next release.
Yeah,
So,
but on that one, just with respect, I haven't had a chance to really study it, but I agree. The code is not a big difference, but but I'd have to have a look at just the
sure.
to see how it would fit in with different workflows.
Sure. Okay. I mean, you can spend as much time as you like thinking about it. I think that if you sort of read through and glance at it, in my opinion, it's pretty straightforward, but that's totally up to you. There will be others. Again, if I very often just sort of read through the issues. If I were to contribute on that one, I could kind of read through. I see some good arguments. I make, and I make a decision. If you choose not to, that's fine too. Where is that issue?
You're talking about 4961?
Yeah, I was just looking for it in this list. I guess it doesn't matter. If there's any others, so very often means at this stage in the process, like one of the things I do is I look for needs testing, and if something just sometimes there are issues that have been talked about for months or years, okay, and consensus is made. Yes, we want to do this issue, but we're just trying to get a PR to work, and somebody has got the PR. The decision is made. Yes, we want to make it. We just have to get the PR working. It's been tested. Somebody has created the PR, and they just need somebody else to say, yeah, this PR actually does what we decided we wanted to do, and that's all it needs to move forward. And if once that has happened, then a core committer or anybody can come in and do a code review, which again, some of these PRs are literally not much harder than the one we looked at. And so it isn't that the issue needs a lot of discussion. It just needs someone to verify that the code works and somebody to verify, and it can be the same person, and somebody to verify that the code looks good. And once that happens, you can mark it RTBC, and then a core committer will give it one final look. So, and I often find issues like that in these, sometimes on the day before a release, and just by testing it, can get it into the next release. So I'm going to pause for a minute. Does anybody, here are a bunch of issues. Well, okay. Again, I moved to the needs. Right now I'm on the needs testing, and some of these might be not close to being finished. So maybe this isn't the best place. We could go back to looking at the UX label.
It's still interesting to hear one example or two of ones that are kind of like your favorites to bring
Yeah.
forward, I think that's great.
So what you could do in the future, oftentimes Greg, who's not here today, he comes to these meetings basically with a list of the issues that he cares about and that he needs other people to look at, and he shares those. And that's something that anybody can do. If you wanted to, for any meeting, but particularly as we're getting close to a release, something to do in advance of the meeting is to just find some issues that you think are stuck and just need to be talked about, or that you just want, nobody's looked at for a while and you just want to highlight and get people to look at them. You can bring them to the meeting, and that will often get them moving forward. Here's another one that I think is that I took over work on. Somebody else had been working on it. Let's scoom to the bottom. Okay, so this one I think is basically ready to go. It just, again, this same guy wants to change the tense, which I'm probably happy to do. I haven't looked at it yet. So if I just quickly change the tense, then he might say, okay, now I like it. Let's go ahead and do it. All this issue does, hopefully we have a screenshot.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful if you just take the URL of it and put that in the chat, because that would, then everyone can quickly go look at it if they want.
I'm going to put them in the Zulip chat, if that's okay, because...
Well, I think now that this is being recorded, put it in this chat, the meeting chat as well, if it's not too much trouble.
I always forget to take links if they're in the Zulip chat, and then I leave the meeting and they're not available. So I prefer to put them in Zulip, but I can do both.
Oh, okay, that's fine. You always have a reason, Tim. You're very well reasoned and seasoned.
Yes, it's from lots of experience. So, oops. Let's go back to. That's this one. If I find that other permission one, I'll put that in chat too. Okay, I'm just going back. We're in the UX. Oh, here's the editor should have permission to manage files. Okay. I'm just going to grab that link and share that in chat as well.
Yeah, I put it in there, I think.
Oh, you did already?
I think so, 4961.
Yeah, okay, perfect. This config, yeah, I think that's a big one. So I'm looking for ones now that I'm familiar with. But again, anybody jump in if you see something interesting on the screen that you want to look at. This better help text is just changing the help text on some things. So it's something anybody, you don't need to be a coder or anything, right? If you're just a user, you can look at and say, yes, this help text is helpful. Or suggest, we often revise, it's not unusual for us to revise help text in one PR 6 or 7 times because people keep coming up with ways to make it a little bit better. So don't be afraid to still add suggestions for how to make that a little bit better.
Now that one, the better help text is also needing a translation update.
So sure, that is just to tell you about this. This does not affect getting it into core, but what this tag does is it reminds people that once that gets into core, people will have to update the translation as well. And the people, I never work with that because I don't do translations, but Olaf, for example, does a lot. It pays attention to this. And I think what he does is he just goes through and checks for issues that have been fixed and need a translation update. You don't want to do the translation update has nothing to do with the actual PR. It has to happen afterwards.
Does it also have to get into a change record?
Okay, good question. So I actually asked about change records last week. Do you want to talk about them, Joseph?
Yeah, sure. So change records are usually when we are changing an API or something that's not backwards compatible necessarily. Or if it's like, what's a good example?
Well, let's find one. We can find one. There is a tag, there's a label for needs change record. There it is. So, maybe you could talk about this one as an example. This one hasn't got
Okay.
into core yet, so it doesn't need it yet, but
Right. So yeah, so we're adding basically a new class to handle config storage, and we're adding a bunch of settings that you can set to change which one is in use. So things like that tend to need change records. If we're just changing like help text in the UI, then we don't necessarily make change records for that.
so, I just asked about this like at the meeting a week or two ago, because I really don't understand change records very well. And so in one of our recent meetings, we had a nice discussion about it. And this is on our documents page, and this is the actual listing of change records. So if you want to see the history of change records, you can find that here. I'll put this into chat. We'll put it into this chat first. I'll drop it into Zulip later. There wasn't even a statement at the top of the page saying what change records are. So I added this after our meeting a week or two ago. Maybe right now you can tell me, Joseph, I haven't got any feedback on this. Is this accurate? Change records document changes to Backdrop CMS APIs that might affect contrib developers or people updating Drupal 7 sites to Backdrop CMS. Is that too specific?
No, I think that's fine.
Okay.
Our definition of what an API is a bit vague, but whatever.
Okay. Well, again, anybody can improve this at any time. I just wanted to get something up here so that somebody comes to this page could at least have an idea of what they are. So most PRs don't require change records, but a few do. I think this is a fine discussion about just how this all works, so you can help out. Is there any other questions you have? And use these labels. That's what I did to find this. These are all open issues that need change records, I think. But except only the ones that are fixed actually needs change records. These are all issues that haven't actually been fixed yet, so we don't need the change record yet. But they will. Yeah, they will once they get committed.
Right. I mean, it's probably a good idea to have like text for it written up ahead of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are generally things that affect developers, so that we can be like, hey, by the way, so we don't break your module.
Okay, I'm again glancing through for anything that maybe makes sense to me, the issues that I'm familiar with. Here's another one. I'll just talk about what I did. This is a really old issue, so this isn't like an issue that I felt strongly about, but it's issue number 146. So this has been around since 2014, and it's I think everybody would agree it's like a duh. Why haven't we done this? There's a recent content block in core, and that was from Drupal 7 before Views was in core. So it does not use the Views module, and we have been converted. Anything like this that is new would automatically use the Views module. So for a long time, there's been the desire to get this into a view. There had been 2 PRs over the years, both of which had been abandoned. So I fairly recently came in and just created a new PR, again, based on the previous work, the work of these others. I copied a lot of their work, but there were some suggested changes, and I made those changes. And now we have, the thing is, this isn't 100%. I mean, this is going to affect, if somebody had a recent content block on their site, it's going to look slightly different after we change it to views. And so there's some discussion about that. We've kind of decided in previous discussions that we're not too worried about it. First of all, because the current view has the edit link in it. And so if you even, it's like this block doesn't really make sense except on an admin page. If you put it on a regular page, it wouldn't show the edit link, but it would have an empty box here and it would look funny. And so we don't think that many people are using this view, but if we did update it, it would look better. And so the current version of the PR looks like this. There is, I don't remember what, see if I find the original. Is this the original block? I think that's with the PR. Yeah, the original one didn't have that title bar. Darn it, I'm not seeing a screenshot of that, so that's something that's always helpful.
Yeah, I was just thinking as we were doing this, something that obviously
Mhm.
people who already know probably know it well, but for people who don't, if you're logged into your GitHub when we're going through this kind of a chat and we're
Mhm.
looking at some of these different issues, like the one we're looking at 146, right at the top of the issue on the right-hand side, not too far down, there is the subscribe button. So if you kind of are interested in some of the ones that Tim is raising, you can just
Yeah.
click the subscribe button and then you'll be part of that. It'll be easier for you to get back to that issue. So I think that might be a good reminder. It certainly was for me. And some of these other ideas like looking at the change records. But there was then anyway, all of these suggestions are fantastic for this later date.
Along those lines, so I've subscribed, well, basically I get notifications for all core issues that get updated, which makes it hard for me to track specific issues. And I would be interested in from people like Joseph or Luke, I don't know if you do anything for this, if you follow any certain issues. I've had a hard time, like, I don't know of a way to flag specific issues. So what I have done is just created bookmarks, and I have this backdrop issue queue. I basically bookmark certain issues, the ones that I've like actively been working on recently, and then I can come here and sort of browse through those to see the ones that I want to give special attention to.
I want to see what's under Tim's top 5.
Let's see if that's even still. Oh, it's down to 1. This I have not updated that particular bookmark block for a really long time, but this is one that I think it would still be on my top 5. Basically, I think the other 4 all got committed, so that's why there were 5 there at one point.
I usually go to the pull requests page and look
Okay.
for pull requests made by me. And then those are the issues that I track normally.
Let's try that for me. So if I go to pull
So
requests,
you have to go to backdrop.
oh, that's right. We're in the issues. So backdrop, go to the backdrop queue. I mean, this obviously doesn't work for people who haven't done pull requests. And then you just search for your name.
You can you can do go to filters.
Oh, my
and
pull
or
requests.
pull requests.
Okay.
And these are all the pull requests you've made. And then I just go from here back to the issues.
Yes. Then so what Joseph's saying is I could click on any one of these pull requests, and in the very first comment will be a link to the issue. So then I just open up the issue and can follow it. The little things like this. Yeah, go ahead.
I generally will make pull requests against things if I'm interested in them, and
right. Yeah.
Or if someone else has already made a pull request that I'm like, I don't need to worry about this. It'll get fixed eventually.
Yeah. So in that list of issues I bookmarked, some of them are ones I've done pull requests for, but some are ones other people have done pull requests for, but I just want to stay abreast and I want to help move them forward.
Yeah, one of the I put a link in the chat, and this is just a basic link to the core issues, and I've added that link to my dashboard, so I can just quickly look, and it's kind of like what's going on right now in the core issues, so you can start reading down the list, and seeing whatever catches your eye.
Right. Yes, I think I have a feeling that that's what a lot of people do. So one of the things that's actually fairly effective is if you find an issue that hasn't been commented on for 2 or 3 years, and it's, was close to being finished, sometimes you can help that issue just by commenting on it, because when you comment on it, it pushes it to the top of everybody else's list. And then they look at it again, and then sometimes they jump in and help move it forward. So little things like that can be very helpful that you might not expect.
Does
So
an
you
issue
say-
have only one pull request, or can it have more than one?
Joseph?
An issue can have, there's no limit, I think, on the number of pull
No.
requests. You can also
Well, I
make pull requests against other people's pull requests.
Yeah.
Right,
So-
I was listening to the dev meeting from last week, and I thought Nate was saying that, they're trying to kind of limit it to one pull request per issue.
Yeah. So I was going to say the same thing. Basically, Nate said he likes to limit it to one open pull request. There are some exceptions that I think Nate would agree with, which is occasionally we're debating an issue and somebody proposes one solution, and then somebody else comes up with a solution that's very different. But it's hard to describe that without just creating a pull request. So they'll create a second pull request and they'll say, I just want to demonstrate my idea. And now we have 2 ideas on the table. And I think that's a legitimate thing to do. So occasionally it's okay to have 2 or 3 open pull requests. But as a rule, we want to avoid that, I think. And Nate was saying, like in the case where if I'm making a new pull request based on somebody else's and it's basically the same, then it's important to close the old pull request. Otherwise, we got confusion. Like, these pull requests are very similar. Which one should I be looking at? But in a case where it's completely different, then I think, and it's still undecided which one we want to go with, we might have more than one.
So then do people sometimes is there a like or dislike on pull requests, or some way to vote for what you're?
Sort of, you can like, what is it? You can add like an emoji to the top comment on a pull request. And then like I've seen some other projects will they have a bot that puts the thumbs up and the thumbs down emoji on every pull request and every issue. And then people just click one of those buttons depending on whether they like or dislike the solution or whatever.
Yeah.
So if there's a limited number of things to be dealt with, like right now before release, then if there's a bunch of likes on the things that people want to have happen first or happen for sure, then they could vote for it that way. But we don't have that system here.
Yeah. I think that's all true, something like that. It's interestingly enough, Nate just pointed this out to me. We can now filter issues based on emojis. So we can filter and see which issues have the most. That we don't make any official use of this, but for example, you could look at this and go to this and say that's got the most thumbs up. That only counts thumbs up on the initial issue, though. It doesn't count thumbs up down here. It's not a thumbs up on the pull request. It's just a thumbs up on the issue.
Right. I mean, I think it's probably better to just keep them on the top one so it's easier to see.
Well,
Anyway.
if you want to endorse like an issue, that's a good way to do it. But I sometimes give the thumbs up to a comment, and I like that comment. It doesn't mean that I'm voting on the issue.
Right.
But you should, if it's in the top issue, it could be considered a vote. I think the most common way, if there's 2 pull requests, the most common way to vote for one is just by adding a comment. Just add a comment and say, I like the first pull request better.
That's really interesting, the sorting with the thumbs up and the thumbs down. You end up seeing some issues that have been open since 2016.
Yes. Well, that views block one that I just looked at, that was like 2014, wasn't it? And that's one of the reasons why, I wanted to, it's like, if we're going to have this open for so long and people have been discussing it for 6 years or 8 or almost 10 years, let's just get this one finished. So that's why it's like, for me, not an important issue, but it's just like a really nice one to get closed after all these years. No, Wilbur's here. Hi, Wilbur.
I'll just add one more comment, and that is, if you find one issue that's related to another, feel free to write a little summary and say, you know, this is a pull request. It's like this one, but this is a different approach, because that links them. And then when somebody comes and reads that summary, they can get all that backstory. And even if you open another pull request, you can reference the old one, and now you have an easy access to get back to what's important. So.
Okay, it's time for the next meeting. I'm going to go ahead and end the screen share. So let's end the meeting. Bye, everybody. But stick around. There's another meeting coming up.